Welcome back to our preview of the 2001 AFL Grand Final, and welcome back to Peter Dacos.
Donners.
You've been relaxing in the back of the studio there?
Yeah, relaxing with the pie in each hand, balancing out. And it's good to see Harves has arrived. The man is in the building.
And he will be joining us on the set very shortly, as too will Dermot Brereton. And if anyone knows what Grand Finals are about, that man knows.
Well, would you like me to sit in between Harves and Dermot?
I don't think you need to.
They get on?
No, you do.
Well, no, do they?
Does Harves get on with anyone?
Well, not
that's
really, but that's my concern.
No, well, I want you sitting, as you've been here for the past 26 weeks, on my right hand.
Looking forward to it. Looking pretty relaxed too, Harves.
He is looking very relaxed, yeah. We'll look forward to seeing him join us on the set.
Maybe conceding, do you think?
I don't think so. I wouldn't think so, but we'll ask him when he comes on, because it wouldn't be surprising if he concedes. He'll tell us a few fibs, we know that, because it'll
looking forward to
be consistent from what he's done throughout the year. Now, speaking of Harves not being on, the fact that Harves isn't here and the fact that we have a timing problem on the show and it goes for 4.5 hours would indicate what to you?
We'd have to be late.
We've
late. Got how long?
We're about 5 minutes late. So unfortunately,
but in
television terms,
it,
that's not too bad. Okay. But unfortunately, we won't have a chance to have a look at the goals of the year. But I did want to have a look at the marks of the year, because I reckon this has been a year for some of the most sensational marks that we've seen.
Oh, look, football all round's been sensational. Yeah. Marks, kicks, goals. We haven't got the goals.
Well, we have, but we haven't got time to show them.
All right,
so let's have a look at the marks instead, because I reckon these are the great highlights of season 2001, the marks of the year.
Centres it to the front of the goal square. Oh, Lynch! What a grab! What a spectacular mark from Alistair Lynch. The Michael lead is on. Here he comes. Over the... Oh, what a beauty! Plays on quickly.
A quick straw poll the crowd would suggest he didn't take that mark there. Can't trust them. Oh, what a mark! The rookie, Daniel Kerr, fantastic mark.
Oh, Henneman's taking a screamer. Matt Johnson, I should say.
Well, he saw his skip, and not only that, he's just about knocked out a Sydney player.
He's the damaging player as far as Essendon are concerned. Leon Buckley. Leon! Has he got it? What a leap!
Leon's come alive.
Kicking towards the middle. Oh, one of the marks of the year! You definitely know it. Kidding me. Oh. He's only just landed. Did he take off early enough? Oh, what a grab! Stephen King, magnificent. He's going in that direction. He wants a high mark. Bird, oh, huge block. He's the bird man. 2 steps.
He's just a sensational player, this fellow.
He goes back and kicks it into the square. Oh! He's flying back. What about that for a leap? Brett Burton. Does chip to Burton. Oh, yes. Oh, that's what you come to see. That's what you come to see.
Block his kick inside the 15.
Oh!
Turn over the top. What a mark. Could well be the mark of the year, that one. Chris Tarrant.
Chappie across the full court. Oh! Don't let on your shoulder, David. Not from that height, because that was a spectacular leap of mark.
Measures the kick, it wobbles. Again, good.
Wrong side for him. Hooks the ball. What a mark! Sensational!
He's taken the wind out of himself. Now why wouldn't he? Because he sucked it in from the stratosphere when he was up there.
It is a 33-point advantage to Essendon. Oh! Gee, they've got some jumping jacks in this Essendon lineup, haven't they? So Tivendale kicks to half. Oh, Richardson! Blighty, you would enjoy this if you're watching.
Trusty left foot, kicks towards Dixon! Sensational grab! Got the ride and sat there for a moment.
Yeah, the kick reflects that.
He's taken it!
Puts the tail and smiles and says, what about that?
take it on the chest, kicks to beautifully from Tawney, and he's away. Great mark by Tawney, and here's a chance for Richmond on the rebound. Possession, 10 for the quarter, deliberate kick to Smith. Oh, what a beauty! Catch of the season. A sliding boundary line catch. Someone threw that ball back, maybe. Oh, no! Russell Robertson. Trademark grab. In the direction of Lloyd. Lloyd one off. Another guesser came up with it back to Lloyd Blake. They're surging here, the Bombers.
It is one of the great features of our game, and weren't there some magnificent marks there?
Oh, well, I think the thing is the mix of players and the new faces, but Moorcroft, Mark, Tarrant, you go through them, and when you consider the game we're playing these days, I mean, we're forever saying it's a chip game. Well, they rarely give it up or bowl it into the air, so some great marking.
Yeah, some fantastic highlights. And speaking of highlights, Dakes, the big highlight of the night is about to happen.
He's arrived.
Yep, he's here.
And turn the lights in, because I think he's got the leather pants on too.
Surely one of the greatest people that we could ever have on Footy Focus. The show just wouldn't be the same without him.
Halves.
Yes, Dermot Brereton will be here after the break, and Halves has wandered into the studio too.
White leather. Can you get white leather pants?
I don't know, we'll find out. When we come back, Derm and Halves will be joining us here at the desk.
Two-Wheel Thunder, the World Speedway Grand Prix.
Something could happen here.
Catch the 2001 Swedish Grand Prix with the world's best riders.
Oh, he's down. He's down.
500cc power, over 150 k's an hour, no brakes.
They are going for it.
Aussie Jason Krupp won his first Grand Prix in Poland. Who'll take out the 6th round in Stockholm? The Swedish Grand Prix, full replay Sunday on C7 Sport.
He's a powerful gangster in need of a little therapy.
I'm a dead man.
Can an insecure psychiatrist possibly help him?
You got a gift. No, I don't. Yes, you do. I don't. Yes, you do.
But this isn't your average client.
Feel better?
Maybe they'll accept him into the family.
You turn me into a fag, I'm gonna kill you, you understand?
But now he's on call 24 hours a day.
This is an emergency.
Don't believe this.
Want me to make a scene?
Bigger than this?
Oh, yeah.
There's a limit to what a psychiatrist can handle.
That is it. Over. I'm no longer your doctor.
And the FBI would also like a word with him.
You ratted me out, you betrayed me.
Let me help you.
What else but become a real member of the family?
What's the matter with you? Sit down. You want a fresh one?
Analyze this, now showing on Movie One.
Monday night at 7:30. Live and exclusive. All you need to know from the people in the know in AFL. We showcase and dissect the game week by week. Profiling, interviewing the superstars.
Excellent.
With news and views from the coaches and the legendary icons of the game. Tim Watson heads the team of Alves, Silvani and Connolly in Football Feedback. Live Monday night at 7:30 on C7 Sport.
All right, who can win? I think we can win. Yeah, it's a grand final now. I think we've always been probably more nervous in preliminary finals. They're so really hard to get to grand finals, and I guess the way they've trained tonight, they're fit, regardless of what other people say. Crackers, they're fit and they're fresh, and you know, it's we've got the experience, so we're really looking forward to it.
What about that Mark Harvey? He didn't take part in much training. He's not as fit as he tells us.
I think he played all his cards last night at that game, didn't he?
Well, he looked all right there for a while.
17 handball receives.
Oh, he was always a bit like that. He wouldn't go and get the hard ball,
no,
would he?
he wouldn't do that.
He wouldn't go and get the ball.
Robert Shaw with Crackers Keenan, and yes, the man himself is here, the assistant coach of Essendon and star from the EJ Whitten Legends game on Tuesday night. Mark Harvey, good evening.
Good evening.
Where the hell have you been? We've been here for about 3 hours.
No
We've
chance
been
of wearing...
planning and training.
How do you plan a loss?
Oh, you said that last week, by the way.
Did I?
Yes.
That was
You
only
do
to
look very relaxed,
cheer you
I might
up.
say.
I am.
Well, This may
Calm
not,
before the storm.
this may not relax you because the man beside you, they used to belt the living suitcase out of each other in the 80s when there was such a rivalry between Essendon and Hawthorn. He's normally the host of the game, but he thought he'd come in and see how it's really done before tomorrow night's show. Dermot Brereton.
Yeah, I'll wear that. That's all right, Scoop.
How are you, mate?
Yeah,
What'd you call him? Scoop?
Scoop. He used to be a scoop hound. He used to get around the traps and sniff around.
As long as I've known him, he has never called me anything different.
No one else calls him that either.
Sniffer dog.
Yes, he is.
Thank you very much.
And never found the right target.
Yes, that's it.
Let's move on.
Let's move on. How is it at this time of the year for you? Do you still get excited when the grand final's just around the corner?
Absolutely. Somebody asked me the other day what sort of emotions you go through. And to be totally honest, I've been fairly fortunate in grand finals, but I turn into the most jealous person in the world. You do anything. You give whatever back just to be able to play a game because you see what they're going through and you think that is the best 2 hours anyone can ever have in their life, and you just wish you could be part of it again. But Father Time marches on, and you've got no say in it.
Yeah, you're always looking for something extra from players, finals, and yet do you ever ask yourself why can't that be produced round 1 to 22, yet you're asked to find something finals?
Yeah. I reckon that's valid.
Like
I reckon that's valid. And Jeansy used to get into me, and he'd say, "Son, do this, do that, and do this." And I said, "Well, you know, I'll play to my best endeavours, but when it comes to an ultimate sort of performance," I used to look at it and say, it's not a final. And mentally, even though you'd try 100%, rounds 1 to 22, unless it was a massive occasion, you know, a blockbuster type game, I just couldn't get that ultimate motivation as in a finals for one of those games. And I'm like you, what you're trying to allude to, I'm almost not ashamed of it, but think, why was that so? Imagine, like Lee Matthews wasn't that. Lee Matthews played every game like it was a grand final, and that's what made him magnificent.
Who would have taught you then? Where did you think you picked up on it? Observing.
You know what? I really reckon that's an inherent type thing, where you grow up, where you come from. You know, your childhood, what happens in it, and the way you learn to overcome small tribulations in the life. I reckon it's something you're born with. And I'm not saying born to lead or anything stupid like that, but just your progressive neighbourhood and nature as a child when it comes to fruition, when it gets to the big stage.
Harves, every second person on Talkback Radio here in Melbourne today has been suggesting that Michael Long is not really injured and that it's an easy way to get him out of the team without having to drop him.
Well, I mean, why would they even allude to that when the bloke came off in tears?
Yeah.
Let's face it, and if you had heard his speech this morning when we had a meeting in front of the players, you'd fully understand he's done a hamstring. And it was one of the most emotional speeches that I've been privy to in a football club.
I know you can't tell us everything he said, but can you tell us the gist of what he was talking about?
Well, basically the disappointment of not playing in a grand final and how much he had set himself throughout the course of this year to play well again in the finals preparation, and how he was going to miss the boys on Saturday. And it just kept going from there. And that's the player that's probably most affected, Dean, because all Dean's wanted to do is play in a grand final with Michael Long. Remains to be seen whether he'll be able to do that. But I guess for Michael to do it today and give Dean 2 days to get over it is probably the best way to go about it.
He doesn't look like he's the only one upset. Looks like Danny Jacobs a little bit concerned. How's it spread throughout the team?
Well, I guess we've got to use it as a positive now.
But how are the other fellas feeling, huh?
Oh, I think they'll grow out of it a lot better than the preceding 48 hours. I think it'll make them stick closer together and really want to not only win it for themselves, but for the tragedies that happen throughout the course of the year whereby players miss out on grand finals, and of course Michael will be at the top of the tree.
Harves, I just want to ask Harves one on that. You get to grand finals and you look back at certain grand finals, and it would be a whole lot easier to look back on this grand final at the end of it if you were to lose. Let's hope you win. If you were to lose and say, nothing really went right grand final week, and it hasn't.
Well, perhaps that you can look at it that way, but
what do you do to alter that mindset? Because at the moment there's a little bit of that sort of doom and gloom about it. Injuries, some blokes aren't coming up, some blokes aren't in their best form.
Well, as far as injuries go, there's no problem. We've put our blokes through the rigours of a full fitness regime last night and also this morning. McCurry and Hurd are fine.
Dustin Fletcher?
He's fine. He hasn't trained basically at all for the last month. He just does some handwork indoors.
Why?
Why?
What's he carrying?
Perhaps he could have an injury, but the kids, our doctors, have suggested that Dustin Fletcher is the toughest player that we've got at Essendon to play with an injury. So, you know, and if you had seen him play last week, his kick-outs, you wouldn't have even thought that he's missed any skills in the last month.
Yeah,
we spoke about Dean Rioli, and you don't have to be a genius to see how affected he was with those pictures of him coming off the ground. A couple of years ago, this is what he had to say about the prospect of playing in the big one with his childhood hero, Michael Long.
To win one premiership with Michael Long before he retires, you know, that's probably the biggest goal of mine at the moment. So just to win one premiership, you know, with Michael Long, that'll complete. I can retire right there and then. So if we win one this year, I'll probably retire.
Yeah, well, he was happy talking about it then. But will it act as a spur for him, or could it really shatter him going into the game?
Oh, look, Haas is probably the best one to answer that, depending on his nature, his makeup. He might retreat into himself and think, well, it's not meant to be. I hope he's not that type of bloke. I hope he'd turn around and say, I'll win it for Michael and myself.
Looking back
little goals like that, though, you miss them. Like, I played grand final with Russell Green, and one of my mini ambitions was to play one with Stevie Green. Always knew from about 10 years of age that he was going, I only missed by 5 years.
Have you got any memories of players that have missed grand finals leading up to your...
Yeah, Peter Schwab.
Yeah, and did he get up and speak to the players?
No, all he did was he took it out onto the track.
He was the best trainer that week, wasn't
by
he?
far,
yeah.
by far. And I almost felt responsible for that, because that was the game we played Essendon and ran over the top of you blokes, fortunately, in 89. 89, this is later. And
gee, this is going to go on, this one.
No.
Essendon and Hawthorn in the 80s.
It got pretty physical, and Schwabby caught the bug. And that was the day Vanders popped up in the wrong spot. And minutes later, Schwabby caught the bug. And he was like, yeah, let's run into him. And he just ran straight into young Andrew Manning at the time and raised his arm and missed the shoulder and went over the top and sconed him. So, yeah, he got weeks for that.
You guys, Essendon and Hawthorn through the 80s, would it be fair to say that you're pretty cold-hearted in your decision-making? I suppose if you made the hard decisions, leaving guys out. I know Collingwood did in 90. Barney made the big decision to leave Ronnie McEwen out and a couple of the boys.
Well, Derek Kickett.
But leaving Schwabby out, you just get on with the job.
Oh, he was suspended.
Even other guys. But Schwabby missing didn't really... I mean, you're a little bit disappointed, but very workman-like you guys in the 10 years.
Well, I mean, 90s. The 84 grand final, I can remember at the side, we picked it on the... Sheeds had picked it on the Thursday night, and he named 5 on the bench. There was myself, Mark Thompson.
Tomo missed.
Both 18 or 19. Michael Thompson, Stephen Keary, and also Tony Bahaja. And Kevin rang us on the Friday night to tell us who was in, and he went for the 2 kids, which were myself and Mark Thompson. And he left out Tony Bahaja, who was a sensational player for Essendon, Stephen Keary, who was also a 100-game player at that time, and Michael Thompson. And he opted for myself and Bomber, who played 16 and 20 games at that particular time. So that was a big risk.
Speaking of the team selections, we're going to have a look at the teams. Just before we do, I'm just recovering after you jumped down my throat last week when I suggested that it was 1,000,000 to 1 that Dean Wallace would play. And beautifully done too. Had him out there in the warm-up, did the warm-up, and then that was the last we saw of him.
Well, it was a good ploy, wasn't it?
Oh, it was beautiful.
Yeah, we like doing that sort of thing.
Yeah, fooled us, especially when his little boy told us he wasn't playing.
When did you find out about that?
Quickly tell that story, dude.
Just quickly, Jenny Schwab went to drop off hers and Peter Schwab's little boy, and there was a kid running around in a Essendon jumper. He's about that big with number 21 on the back, and Jenny Schwab said to him, is in the creche, and Jenny Schwab said to him, hello, little boy, what's your name? And he said, something Wallace. Tommy Wallace. And he said, oh, your dad's playing footy today? He said, no, he said he's not going to play today.
And he dropped the lip to you.
Would he have said that, though? Little Tommy Wallace, he would have said, mind your own business.
He would have gone, bang,
what do you want?
Well, let's have a look at the team selections. First of all, for the Bombers, and they have made the 2 changes. Of course, Matthew Lloyd, the 100-goal full forward, comes in. Gary Moorcroft, probably to the surprise of nobody, in. And we do wish Michael Long the best with that hamstring injury, and we wish Mark Bolton the best too, because he's the unlucky one who misses out.
Well, again, I suppose, Hars, why don't you jump into it?
No, well, Dermot analyses football very well.
Bolton, I reckon Bolton's stiff, the kid. I reckon some of the coaching staff, and Harves, you don't have to interject here or anything, but some of the coaching staff, it looks like him. He gets a good run sometimes, and other times it looks like the other half of the coaching staff might just look at him and say, No, that's not the man for the job. But I reckon he's done all right.
He's had negating type roles, and do you think it has a lot to do with maybe who they've already assigned roles for?
No doubt, no doubt. But they had to play Moorcroft. I reckon they had to play him because, look, he hasn't got great form and he's out of touch a bit because he hasn't played enough footy. But I reckon they had to play him because he's a different mix-up forward.
And the temperament, he has the temperament for this game.
I was really, really worried that you'd pick him against Hawthorn. I thought he's a dangerous matchup. If he gets on, he's a dangerous matchup. And quite frankly, Brisbane's midfield is so good, Essendon have to carry the challenge to Brisbane somewhere. They can't go in with 4 or 5 taggers just to try and win a game. It won't happen. They've got to carry the fight to Brisbane in the grand final.
Do you back your guys, would you back your guys, forgetting about being trying to negate, would you back your players against anyone, let them go out there and just play football?
Look, I think you have to in grand finals. Possibly we may have 1 or 2 tags, that would be the most, and then usually we just let our team play and we find we get better results out of it.
I think they would beat you if you went in with a negating type attitude. They've got too many backups.
Well, the minute you start to tag
core group of players,
the minute you start to tag 4 or 5 players, they then can dictate space, the opposition that is, and that's when you're asking for trouble.
Well, they run you out of the play, don't you?
I'll tell you what, though, you said we'd go in with the tags, and who would you back them against? I reckon if you said to James Hird, who are some of the players who played on this year, James Hird, when he goes into the middle, he never looks behind to see who's tagging him. I reckon James would say, I don't know. He's that good, he just plays the ball.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a good attitude to have.
Just before we look at the Brisbane team, how close was Corey McGrath?
Well, I guess it was out of him and Moorcroft. Gary Moorcroft has kicked the last 2 times he's played against the Lions. He's kicked 5 and 4, so that probably got him over the line.
Who's picked him up, Harves, in that instance?
He didn't play earlier this year. He pulled
Chris
out late,
Johnson,
didn't he?
Perhaps last year. I can't tell you the year before. Yeah, so that probably helped him. We possibly needed more goal-kicking power. We've got Matthew, of course, back in the side. Moorcroft can also do a role in the midfield as well. And look, Corey actually went out for Michael Long, if you remember, 3 weeks ago. And it's a little bit of a shame, but you know, always players are going to be unlucky in grand final sides.
He's hard to match up, Moorcroft, isn't he? Because for a small guy, you play a 6'2" on him, because that's what it'll probably take to combat him. He does like flying. At the same time, play 6'2", then he'll beat you on the ground. So, unknown.
The Brisbane lineup, gentlemen, just the one change, and this is not a surprise either. Alistair Lynch comes back in after serving out his 1-match suspension. What about the story of Matthew Kennedy, though? He's announced his retirement. His father, Des, played in the second semi-final in 1966 for St Kilda and missed the grand final due to injury. So, 35 years on, and well, I suppose we all thought it was going to happen.
Been a good player, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He was there right from just about the word go for them and played centre-half back. Actually played on the ruck.
And wasn't a tall guy, he wasn't a big
6'2"
centre-half back,
6'3", yeah.
Good running player.
Yeah.
Well, let's have a look at the lineup and look at this midfield, the midfield that is... Do you think it's been the best in the comp, too?
I think right now it's the best by far. But the thing, you look straight down the spine, Mel Michael, who... reliably informed, he went very close. He figured in the final 3 or 4 for All-Australian, last post. He was very close. Michael, Lepich, Voss, Brown, that kid's a star, Lynch. It's one very good spine. I know Essendon's is too. They probably won't play there, the Essendon spine, but that is, I'll probably line up just about that way.
Keating's playing strong. In recent weeks, he's been playing very strong, and he wasn't scared to bowl a few over last Saturday night.
You like the ruckman who like body contact, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, they've got a good balance with Beau McDonald able to just jump at the ball and he'll give you a good contest, and then all of a sudden Alessio has to come against Keating. All of a sudden he has to readjust his style going in, so it's always off-putting. But look,
his opponents come good again though. Alessio's become a very good player again. He had a lean patch and not dance around the edges. He was pretty bad for a while, but he's actually become an exceptionally good player again.
Well, he was on the skids, wasn't he?
Yeah. No, he actually had an injury, and he came back after the injury. His form for the first month after that injury wasn't to the standard that perhaps he's playing at now. So it's always a good sign leading up now, playing in good form, and you can continue it on. I think Solomon's another one that's really lifted to another level in that area.
You got dirty on me for saying that Solomon was loose, and he was so loose, but he actually has tightened up.
Your articles do amazing things for your players.
Doom, just on, I made the point about the Lions. I just don't believe they've had the adverse conditions like a lot of the teams playing at the G, with the wind, the swirling wind. They've been undercover at Colonial when they have been out here. I know they beat Collingwood at the G.
When's the last time they've kicked a red football?
Even at night.
A red football.
Well,
you know
day football, that might get...
They played one day game in 7 weeks. Interesting, isn't it?
I'd like to see when the ball is running away and when the skills aren't as true, how they actually do go. I mean, that will be... If it's windy on Saturday, it'll be different ball game.
Well, remember back to the round 10 encounter when the Bombers were undefeated going in. Brisbane had got off to a pretty slow start, and Lee Matthews came up with a very interesting quote in the week leading up to the game.
Predator movie that Arnie Schwarzenegger starred in, and there was this alien monster from out of space that was killing all these people in the South American jungle, and all of a sudden they shot this monster and they discovered it bled.
Hello there, that was unexpected, wasn't it?
That's a third
going on up?
What's going on?
I think that was up there actually, Dakes, if you don't mind.
No.
I was listening.
That's great that you're on my side too.
You're back in a few years' time.
Yeah, right.
What happened then?
I don't know.
It was a good quote though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
It was fantastic. I mean, just to try, I mean, you blokes had you had an aura about you, which you still looked at as the best team in the comp, but you don't have that aura anymore. I reckon if you lose one for the season, you're going to win the grand final. As you lose 2 or 3, you're still going to win the grand final. You lose 4, somebody could get you on the right day. You lose 5 games for the year or more, on the big day, somebody's got a good chance.
When you won back-to-back in your second year, how many games did you lose?
3.
Is that losing 5 with your top team in though, or is that losing 5?
Doesn't matter. I reckon that shows depth right throughout the team. And
there's crucial players though.
Essendon have gone into their depth here.
There's crucial players though. If they lost Voss, it'd be a lot worse than losing Lappin.
No doubt.
So I don't think we've gone into our depth now. I think that's our best side that we can field. Bar perhaps Michael.
So all year long when you've been saying, we've still got Michael Long to come back.
Yeah. Well, barring
who's the best player for Essendon? Best player at Essendon?
Oh, James Hird.
Well, he's missed his football. He's missed a lot of football in 5 weeks, but he's been taken off the ground. He hasn't played full games for, I reckon, 11 rounds.
Correct.
Well, just getting back to the comment of Lee Matthews about cut them and they shall bleed, a man like Kevin Sheedy would never forget something like that.
You know, just one of those sort of games that we're all looking forward to. That's right. You know, we'll find out who bleeds this time, won't we?
We will, and we've only got a couple of days to wait. He's always good with a quip. Yeah, he was a beauty the other day. Going back to the round 10 clash halves, they were pretty comprehensive. They held you to, I think, 2 goals 7 in the first half. How are you going to turn it around? How do you have to turn it around from that performance?
And how'd they beat you the first
Well,
time?
we actually had 9 players out that are in this side. They had 4 players that didn't play last time. And if you remember, they played that unusual brand against us where they, once they had possession of the ball, they went sideways. And remains to be seen whether you can tactically win grand finals by doing things a la what they did to us last time. Grand finals tend to be a little bit more of a shootout. And you rely a lot on your matchups, and normally they win your grand finals more so than tactics do. Would that be right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, Lynch being 1 out against Fletcher. Lynch isn't the best full forward in the league. Fletcher's probably the best full back in the league still. Most people regard that, but you wouldn't want to leave him 1 out and let the other blokes come. You'd want somebody from Essendon to come over the top because Lynch will at least bring it down front and centre from McRae.
Fletcher will work you. Fletcher will work Lynch a lot harder than a lot of other guys. If he's able to run and charge up the ground well, Lynch is going to have to do a little bit more running than he's possibly been used to. And I would go halves conventional. I'm watching them last week. They will go backwards. They will chip across the ground. They go into that space. Why not play a conventional forward line and back your guys to go even one-on-one?
That's fine to say that, but if they start turning over the ball, then what do they do?
If they start
turning over the ball by foot, and they can't pinpoint, then what do they rely on?
Well, I'm talking about their running. You've got to cut their legs off. So by you zoning, and when they win possession of the ball, all they can do is be predictable. If you are going one-on-one, all they can do is bomb the ball in the air because they start their attacks from defence. I mean, they're very good out of the middle.
That's one of the amazing things about their midfield at the moment. Ackermanis, Voss, Lappin, all these guys, they're not missing target. Black, they just don't miss targets, so you've really got to try and strangle them. I reckon when Essendon played their best footy this year, it's when they had Peveril in the team, because Peveril just went on the opposition and they choked them up and they turned the ball over, and Essendon just owned the centre of the ground. They won't let anybody else go through there. And frankly, last week was the first time in the second half, Hawthorn was the first time I've seen run through the middle against Essendon, and that was a worrying sign. So you've got to get that stagnancy about the opposition and seize them up in the middle, because these blokes will cut you to ribbons, and they use it beautifully.
I personally believe there's just Essendon have the players to stop the midfield.
Yeah,
I don't think any other
do.
team in the competition, the Johnsons and you throw in Heffernan, sorry.
Yep.
So, you know, but halves you have.
It's been a long day.
It has been a long day, especially when you get out at 3 o'clock. But do you think that way about the Bombers?
Yeah, I think so. They're probably the best equipped to take them on there. Having said that, at either end of the ground, they're as good, if not better, in various positions too. So it's beauty.
Now, thanks to you, Dermot, the AFL has sent out a fax to both sides this week saying that if you get reported, the penalties will be a lot harsher than they perhaps have been.
1990 halves, 1990.
I was getting a cordial when that was going on.
Ansett Cup games are basically out. That's what they're saying. So if you get 8 weeks, you get 8 weeks in the home and away series. So thanks very much for all that.
That was him in 1990, mate.
You weren't far away.
From
you had a little bit to do with that through the 80s as well.
With your team manager, Gubby Allen, at the time.
He's back.
Yeah, he's back. Good day, Gubby.
Gub will be watching, the property developer up in Queensland.
Yes.
Is that fair enough, that they should maybe add a bit on
Well,
in
why
grand
on the
finals?
edge of the grand final do you do that?
I reckon that was in place anyway. I reckon Gomez is just... Andy Demetriou's just... Gomez. He's a teammate, so I call him Gomez. He's just reiterated and reaffirmed it.
Hey, what about his date at the Brownlow the other night? Did all right?
Well,
First time he's laid eyes on
Was it actually his date?
Well, I
don't think he knew.
No, I think he first met her when they got there, but still it was pretty handy.
And who was your date at the Brownlow?
I wasn't invited, Harves.
Okay.
No.
Did you get there, Harves?
I didn't get invited.
You would have been a cert.
No, I didn't get an invite, and when I was playing I never got an invite either, because suspended ones weren't allowed to go.
Just talking about those players who weren't there in the round 10 clash, when you have a look at the list of names, there's a bit of quality there, isn't there?
Well, there is, and particularly, the ruck division. I think we had David Hill and Jonathan Robin from memory last time we were up against Keating and the Whites. McCurry, Carousella, Joe, geez, a lot of possessions there. Also Blumfield, and of course Moorcroft, the wild card, who's actually, as I've gone on to say, does kick goals against the Lions.
See, Barnes is a surprise one there, going in against Keating and Bo McDonald. Yeah, I mean, Barnes has been a terrific player, sure, coming back to the Bombers, but I suppose what he gives away in the ruck against these guys, you're hoping he gives you around the ground. Has he got the run?
Well, I'll tell you what, if he goes out there, say tonight, and runs
last
game? No, say if he goes and does a 10-lap race, he'll finish in the top 2 or 3. So
Still right now?
Yeah, still right
but
now.
that's what I'm saying, the balance
is... low on endurance last weekend.
I think the heat may have got to him a little bit now.
Speaking of Matthew Lloyd and speaking of suspensions, of course, he breathed a sigh of relief when he got the 1-match suspension, which meant that he missed the preliminary final. He's back for the big one, and he knows that there's nothing like it.
I don't think you can go in to a final saying you're the underdog, we've got nothing to lose. You've got a grand final to lose, and who knows whether we'll ever be back. You look at salary caps now, you lose players, you don't know whether your team's going to be together next year. So, you know, I'm taking this as this is going to be my last grand final, and I'm sure everyone thinks that, because who knows whether you'll ever get there. And I'm grateful that we're back here 2 years on the trot, and I know I'm playing this game as if it's my last.
That's the Coleman medalist. What about the Brownlow medalist? We spoke to Robert Walls before. He thought it might be a positive for Brisbane that Jason Ackermanis won the Brownlow on Monday night. Quickly from the three of you, do you think it'll be positive or negative for them?
I just think the way he's come across, I don't think there's too big a problem with him. I don't think he's taken it too seriously. He's really...
I'm not touching it a whole lot, and he starts to put that pressure on himself. That might be a
well, they all
cause for
have
concern. But...
Doom, they got that luxury, haven't they, the Lions? Because if two are doing all right, two aren't, the focus goes on the other two or three and releases one who all of a sudden comes into the game. So you've got huge problems.
Great character, isn't he? And it was a wonderful article, I think, by Scotty Gullen in the paper last week that spoke about the fact that his fiance's parents are profoundly deaf and he's learned how to sign to communicate with them. He's a different character, and we all congratulate him for what was a worthy win on Monday night. When we come back after the break, as our 2001 AFL Grand Final preview continues here on C7 Sport, we'll take a look at some of the likely matchups.